President Trump will sign his big, beautiful bill into law today after kicking off America's 250th celebrations in Iowa last night. Rebekah Castor is live from Washington with more. Hi, Rebekah.
Hi, Carly. Congress pulled this off. While President Trump said it was okay if it took a little longer to pass the big, beautiful bill, he did want to sign it today on July 4th. Here's why.
There could be no better birthday present for America than the phenomenal victory we achieved just hours ago when Congress passed the one big, beautiful bill to make America great again. The people gave us a historic mandate to cut taxes, raise take-home pay, bring back jobs, stop the invasion. With this bill, every major promise I made to the people of Iowa in 2024 became a promise kept.
Trump kicked off his victory lap last night at a rally in Iowa, just hours after House Republicans finally passed the big, beautiful bill. House Speaker Mike Johnson is being declared a miracle worker after wrangling enough votes to get this done. It took days of arm twisting, with some Republicans concerned over cuts to Medicaid and SNAP programs, while others still think the bill didn't cut enough spending. In the end, Republicans only lost 2 votes.
We are basically enacted in this agenda what we did in the first 2 years of the Trump administration, but this time we did it on steroids.
The president will sign the bill at the White House with the ceremony at 4 p.m. later today. He'll then host military families for a July 4th picnic where they'll watch the Air Force flyover and fireworks.
This is a declaration of independence from a really national decline. We had a national decline. We were a laughing stock all over the world. We have independence now from radical left bureaucrats.
Democrats, of course, feel differently. Former President Biden called the bill cruel, and Kamala Harris says it will devastate millions of people across the nation. Carly.
Rebekah Castor, live for us in Washington. Rebekah, thank you. Let's bring in the host of the Hannah Cox Show, Hannah Cox. Hannah, good morning to you. So we spent just about the whole day yesterday waiting for Hakeem Jeffries to finish speaking and then to see if there was enough votes to get this across into the president's desk, and there were. So let's talk about what's in the bill that the president is going to sign into law today. And just on the tax cuts effort alone, it includes, here's a few quick bullet points: no tax on tips, as we know, no tax on overtime. He plans to raise the estate tax exemption to $15 million per person, which is something he talked about in Iowa yesterday. He also is going to create a Trump account for newborns, which is a $1,000 investment account that allows it to grow tax-free. There's going to be a child tax credit increase and a raise on the SALT cap for households earning under $500,000. So what does that mean for the American people and the economy overall?
Well, these are some of the best parts of the bill. The tax cuts are really the only reason they were able to get this across the finish line, and that's why they attached the tax cuts to this legislation, because the rest of it is not something that libertarians or fiscal conservatives are going to be all that happy with. Even within the tax credits and cuts, you've got some new social engineering sort of goals that they've worked in here, trying to get people to have more babies, paying people $1,000 into accounts for kids that they may have, which I think just misses the entire point for why people increasingly aren't having kids. People are concerned about our future. Younger generations rightfully recognize that our trajectory is unsustainable. And while there's been some funny math around this bill, the reality is it does continue to add to the deficit. So I certainly fall on the side of the line that held true to principles, which was Thomas Massey and others who have pointed out that this is not sustainable. We're selling ourselves into debt slavery, and it's going to be quite harmful for future generations. So the tax cuts are a good thing. I wish they would have taken those things out and passed them as single issue bills. They would have had a lot more support had they done that. But they needed those tax cuts in order to get all of the new spending and all the other things in this bill across the finish line. I am impressed at what Mike Johnson has been able to accomplish. I think he had a lot of people that were pushing back. It seemed like this was very up in the air. He clearly is a very talented Speaker of the House, that he was able to whip his majority in this way. But I think that this is going to be a real mixed bag for the American people.
Hannah, it sounds like you're not a huge fan of a single big, beautiful bill. You would like to have seen several bills. I understand that. When you hear the Senate parliamentarian as the excuse for the reason some things were cut out of this bill in the Senate, things like the Hearing Protection Act part of the NFA tax, or there are a few other things that I've heard people complain about. Do your understanding of how this legislation works, putting it all in one big, beautiful bill, a reconciliation bill, was that a mistake from the beginning?
Well, is it a mistake for our future, or is it a mistake politically? You know, putting it all into one package is certainly the smart thing to do politically. That's why we see Congress increasingly relying on this tactic. It's a lot easier to put a whole bunch of junk into a huge bill and then to use the few good things in it to pressure people to fall in line. Obviously, people who voted against this now, particularly right-wing people, they're going to be able to come out and say, these people voted against tax cuts, when in reality, they were voting against all the extra spending and all of the deficit increase and many of the actual just like constitutional issues within this legislation. So that's why they do this. It's a smart political tactic. It works. The vast majority of the American people are not paying attention to public policy at that level in order to understand sort of the sleight of hand. But when you talk about, is this a good idea for our future? I think the vast majority of Americans, if you put this before them in a poll, would say they would much rather see single issue bills. They would rather see them vote on issues line by line, so that so much of this corporate welfare, so much of this cronyism, so much of the spending can't get hidden from the American people in this way.
Well, President Trump was in Iowa, as you know, yesterday, and he was kicking off the years-long America 250 celebrations, and he talked about the economy and where he thinks things stand right now. Watch this.
You know, we've already cured inflation. Look at our stock market. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars on tariffs with no inflation. And today we just set another record, the highest stock market in history. For the first time in years, this 4th of July, the economy is roaring, incomes are soaring, wages are up, prices are down. Gasoline, you see what's going on with gasoline? It's way down. See what's going on with eggs? Eggs are way down.
And Hannah, he talked a lot about the eggs, and he said that he was blamed for the increase in egg prices 4 days into his presidency, but he was happy to see them back down to normal levels. He was clearly in a celebratory mood yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are very good things to celebrate over the past couple of months within the Trump presidency. I particularly have been very excited about his energy agenda, watching him come in and start to deregulate and start to really prioritize America's energy independence, which I do think is an existential issue. This is something that we need a lot more work on. He's come in and actually started cleaning house at government agencies like the Tennessee Valley Authority that have been wasting billions of American dollars, not developing the technologies that we need, trying to pursue green energy deals, selling jobs overseas. You know, watching him come in and clean house in these ways has been very exciting, and I think will have a huge positive impact on our economy. But I think it's a little too soon to celebrate when it comes to the overall forecast. I know for people in my generation, we're not feeling secure yet. We're not feeling like we're back in the first Trump term. That's why people voted for him. They remembered what the economy was like under him the first go around. I think he's got enough goodwill for people to stick with him and see what he does so far. But for me, the spending increases are not encouraging. That is something he did in his first term as well, and it was able to even out because of all of the deregulating and other good things he was doing. So I'd like to see him slash a lot more and focus on the deregulation side of things versus the tariffs and the spending. But there's still time, so I'm hoping for the best.
Well, he's going to have another big day today. He's going to be meeting with some of the big B-2 fighter pilots that did the Iranian strike, and I'm sure he's going to be squeezing in some time to watch fireworks over the National Mall as well. Hannah Cox, live for us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.